Okay, sorry about that, pal. I don't know what was going on. I had to do a reboot. We're scrambling, as per always. Wife and kids are at all different places, and here I am logging on with you to do a pod.
There we go. Feels like yesterday.
It almost does, just a couple days ago, because my haywire schedule is dictating that we got to do this early again. So thanks, buddy.
No worries. Man, are you drinking that rat piss again?
I did spice things up with a bit of a coffee. Yeah.
Oh, it's Starbucks, though. Okay.
Yeah. What rat piss are you talking? Timmy's?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a whole story in itself, what Tim Hortons has kind of become. But listen, before we get ranting and raving, right at the start, I want to make sure I say something here. To everybody that reached out after last week's pod, I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. I've gotten like just an absolute like tidal wave of people saying like congratulations and welcome aboard and all this amazing stuff. So thanks to each and every one of you that reached out. It really truly does mean the absolute world to me and my family. So
Yeah, actually, Britt was telling me at dinner tonight, she's like, oh, I listened to the pod. And when Gary was going on about how, you and the family were there, and once they're like, oh, you're approved, and, people started getting a little weak in the knee and everything, Brittany's like, oh, she's like, I brought back the same emotion that, that I had. It's like, we didn't do it together, right? We had our own dates for the interview, but it's a life-changing, I don't know, like a weight off your shoulder / excitement / I don't know, man.
yeah,
it's a big sigh of relief, but like coupled with excitement. It's very odd.
What I've tried to relate it to is it reminds me of doing like a final exam with like more oomph behind it, because now this is like real life. You can retake an exam, you know what I mean? But like this has got a lot of things riding on it. And I mean, it didn't help much that I was surrounded by 4 gals that, they're emotional little spirits and everything, right? And it's just like, oh fuck, it's getting windy in here, like, and dusty, quick. Yeah. But hey, buddy, I guess on other exciting news, we got our passports delivered today.
Yeah, that's good, man. I remember want to say my interview was on Monday. I had my passport Wednesday, or like maybe it was Thursday. So kind of in similar fashion, right? Like your interview was on Thursday, plus they had to go
across the country
all the way. Yeah. Across the whole country. And we're Wednesday today. So not even a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's the quickest
They must have been like, sticking them in your passports as you were doing the interview. And like when did you get the shipping notification and like the tracking?
Yesterday.
Oh, damn. So they like just overnighted that shit to you.
Yeah. So like that stuff, when you think about the path that it would have taken, I mean, it was on an airplane last night and then sorted and dealt with this morning and delivered by 2:00 this afternoon. Cause yeah, just to give everyone some sense of where we're at here, we had the interview last Thursday and we're recording this pod on Wednesday of this week. So 6 days, these things went from Ontario to British Columbia and processed. It's not like it's just a handwritten note either. You know what I mean? Like you got a full page that's now stuck in your passport.
Yeah.
Like that had to be processed and licked and sticked and everything else, right?
Faster than getting your Canadian passport.
Oh, by like 4 weeks.
Oh man, I gotta renew mine too. So I'm like, because Britt did hers last year, and it took some time. And oddly enough, right? Like when we were in Dubai, you could just go to like the Canadian embassy and they'd process them there. So we
Mm.
got them super quick um, in the country. And here they actually send them back to Canada. So I want to say, yeah, it took 4 or 6 weeks, something like that. And maybe there's an expedited option or whatever, but it's never, I hate not having a passport, especially when you're out of the country.
Yeah.
Because then it's like if there is some weird, odd emergency, then you're kind of screwed. And then the other issue that sucks is that the visa's in your old passport. So then you got to carry the old one and the new one together when you travel because the valid documents are in the one versus, right,
Oh.
the actual travel document, you got to use the new one.
Oh, interesting. I was going to ask you how that unfolds. Okay, so yeah, because my current passport that this visa's in expires in 27. So I'm a year and a half out from having to renew that thing. So
Yeah.
I'll
And
be a
so
double
what
packer.
sucks, yeah, is when you enter, instead of them giving you two, like, because it's always a maximum of 2 years, despite how long your visa is good for. Um, it'll probably, like, you'll have to
Maximum
leave, right?
before the
To,
two.
yeah, before it. But anyways, that's some other
Yeah,
type of shit.
offline stuff we can chat about. Now, Bud, I mean, we did kind of have an action-packed, at least from my perspective, pod last week. And as soon as we got off, and Chris and I always have a bit of a wag after the pod, right? Catch up with each other. Um, I signed out and I'm walking up the stairs into the house and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this slipped my mind. So, and I'm sure as soon as I say it, you're going to be like, why haven't we spoken about this, right? The little, I think it's an LX hatch that
Oh, the
was
bring a
on your
trailer?
trailer. I think this could really go for a while. And I don't know if you interpreted, I'm going to assume you did like I did, but I went through some of the comments both on Bring a Trailer and on some of the Facebook pages. And I think that this is worth expanding horizons on from like a shop perspective. And obviously, all we can do is hypothesize about
Yeah.
it. But I think I have a little bit of a theory that not a lot of people have considered, and I'm guessing you're probably of the same mentality that I am on this, but I'll just throw it out there to start us off because there's a lot of talking points. I think the hottest one's probably that set of wheels that everybody's all worked up about, 10 or 12 grand for, and whatever. We can talk about that on its own. But the thing that I couldn't help but think that was the underlying tone that I think somewhat maybe in a roundabout way kind of justifies this shop is I started to try to picture, and now I'm not trying to shit on anyone here, but I started trying to picture the client in my mind. Okay. And I started to get a bit of an appreciation as I read through the invoices that this individual is expecting like very unrealistic outcomes, if you will. Right. And therefore, a lot of these invoices reflect that back and forth relationship of like, this guy seriously wants us to like soundproof his console. You know what I mean? Like, this is foxbody 101. If there's anyone out there that doesn't have a noisy console in their car, please reach out. I'd love to hear your life story. Like, it's fucking impossible, guys. Okay. They all, unless you're leaning on it or you've removed it, consoles have a rattle. All right. I don't give a fuck how many miles are on your car. They all do. And one of those invoices was to stop the squeaky console. Where would you even start? And for anyone out there that's ever taken a console apart to like restore it and paint it, also let's have a beer because that will make you a different human being trying to put that console back together. Like, it's not easy. You need 6 hands, a very patient mind, and a bunch of like drywall to fucking throw your fist through.
Okay. So
Your tag, you're in. Your turn.
yeah. So I guess for anybody who's not aware, right? Bring a Trailer had I believe it was a 92,
Yeah,
93
2, I think.
LX hatch, and it was a Coyote swap car that had, I don't know, an pretty extensive list of modifications done. At the same time, nothing too crazy, albeit the wheels, gauge cluster was factory. It wasn't like Dakota Digital or anything like that. And then it was these crazy invoices that were plentiful. And it was documented, like it was all there, like the reasoning and everything else for, this. I didn't add them all up, but I think somebody did, and I think it was like 240,000, something like that, in
Yeah.
receipts into this thing, plus obviously the cost of the car. So you're $250,000 into this LX Coyote powered LX hatch.
Yeah.
And the car ultimately sold for 77 plus 5% buyer fees to the buyer, obviously. So buyers in it, logistics, fees, everything, probably 85K. Now, we'll get into some of the other stuff, but to answer your question, I think the client was most likely either that, or the client was on the other side and sort of extremely hands off and just said, I want clean, factory like, without, you know what I mean, doing big crazy wheel combos. I don't know cowl hood. I can guarantee that that was a condition, because there was actually quite a bit of work that went into making everything fit on underneath the factory hood, which is actually, we'll get into that too, because that actually was a question of mine. So if it was just sort of like, this is what I want, like it needs to be modern, but keep its stock old school vibes, and I don't care how much it costs, just build it, could have been the mentality of it. And then the shop, just because the way that I was reading how some of this shit was written, I feel like dude was sort of like a mad scientist, like the shop was, or whoever was doing these invoices. And that's like, I actually, commented on there saying, it'd be cool to know the shop. And I think somebody did figure out who the shop was, or, somebody claims like, oh, it's a reputable shop that built it, or they know what they're doing, or something like that. And, if we knew that, then maybe we could kind of like do the association thing. Because there was like a method to the madness. Because like when you really started kind of going through that stuff, and the time spent and the detail, like you said, whether it was the console thing or trying to get the motor to fit underneath or deal with this little particular thing or that, there was quite a bit of particularness. I don't want to call it OCD, but very detail oriented stuff that budget would allow for. So you build a car to that nature and you end up with a squeaky console, that would drive me nuts. Like I wouldn't want to hand it over to the customer knowing that the console is rattling and stuff like that. If, it's of that caliber, it kind of, to be honest, reminds me of that twin turbo Coyote car that I had. And the customer kind of wanted, like he wanted the custom wheels and stuff, but like he was adamant, like it needs to be factory hood, factory gauge cluster, factory radio, but like he was okay with a couple things, you know what I mean? But like for the extent of it, like he even wanted a factory shift knob, even though it had a T56 in it, which just looked ridiculous. Like not even a leather knob. It was just this ugly factory plastic. Yeah, I think they're just plastic, right? On a factory 5.0 knob. So,
Rubbery
um,
deal, yeah.
uh, so it's a tough one, right? And with the seller to kind of like, because the car had a reserve and the seller lifted the reserve, I think around 65. There was a
Mm,
message like when all the final bidding came in, because I think it was around 55 for the longest time. Around 65, I think the reserve was lifted and then ultimately is sold for the 77. So to have $250,000 into a car and let it go for the cost of parts, because that's pretty
yeah.
much what it sold for. Um, that's probably
That's a
someone
hit.
who didn't really care or was desperately hurting for money. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, that or I kind of interpreted it as you know what? I thought I could build a car that was perfect, or their version of perfect, and came to the realization that it never was gonna be because it's a fox body. You know what I mean? Now, I should say that how I was interpreting the invoices, I didn't I at least I don't think I looked, but I when I seen invoice after invoice and even how the description read, it was like client states that. So that led me to believe that this car has gone and come back. And that invoice is therefore dated 3 months or 4 months or whatever it is past delivery date.
See,
So
I didn't pick up on that. I was glimpsing at some of that shit. So yeah, that's a good
right.
assumption, because there was probably a whole delivery. Hey, put some miles on it,
Yeah.
shake it down, do the thing. Come up with your list of deficiencies or whatever it might be, and we'll get them addressed.
Yeah. And I can't remember the specifics of this one, but it was something to the effect of like I think that thing had the Maxim Motorsports catalog thrown at it, if I'm not mistaken. Is it QA1 or something nice and like soup to nuts? The whole underneath of the car is done, everything short of having a roadster shop chassis, really, right? And it was like, right front side is sitting a little weird, or customer states that, right. And then it was like machine style work that was done to like try to correct what one would assume would have come perfect out of the box. You know what I mean? So I was picking up on that stuff going like, is that even a real concern? Could it be? Like, sure, there's manufacturer defects, right? But this just seems like it's getting beyond what's realistic.
Well, to your
And
point on that one, I was confused with all the work that was required to get the motor to fit underneath the factory hood.
with the trimming of
Because,
the hood bars, like the support bars and shit.
well, no, he modified the K member.
Oh,
So there
right.
was there was something about the steering rack and this, that, welded fab this, blah, 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 for clearances. And I'm thinking to myself, like, both Coyote swaps that I've dealt with, um, UPR K members, and both of them fit underneath stock hoods. And that's the turbo car needed a little bit, it needed a section of the bracing of the hood trimmed just because of the way the intake pipe was for the turbo.
Mm,
Um, Jerry's white hatch, though, no trimming.
right.
Like it fits underneath there. And like, I don't know if it had to do with that crazy engine cover thing that they were trying to get
Right.
on there in order for that to fit, the way that they wanted it to. And don't get me wrong, like the airbox, a lot of that stuff looked very, very tidy.
Yeah.
Um, it's just like that's why, like, just reading some of that stuff, I'm like, is this like over engineered? Like someone just like took something that was, could have been simpler out of the
Yeah.
gate and just found a way to overcomplicate it and then bill accordingly to make it work.
Yeah. And see, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just like the shop owner in me that kind of like goes, okay, wait a minute, everybody's shitting on the shop here. Let's maybe consider the other side of the beach ball. Like we're all looking at the yellow side. Let's look at the red side here, you know? Um, and as I read the invoices, I don't know, maybe I was forcing myself to kind of read them from that angle or whatever. But I was like, I don't know, because reading through some of the comments, you go like, there's people that are willing to put their neck on the line here in the comment section, which is quite admirable. Everyone that's put themselves out in the comments, you know how that can go sometimes. And they're like, guys, like this shop builds quality shit. You know, like this isn't whatever, just a run of the mill outfit, you know? And then when you hear like we're machining what, like I said, is already a beautiful, pretty decent QC'd part right out of the box, it's like, holy fuck, like where is that coming from? And to your point, I never thought of that angle, but like, is this a shop being over particular? There is a chance that, you know, they're maybe taking a guy for a ride. But I mean, the shop must know that as- I would think that the guy would have let the shop know that he's going to sell the car. And at that point, does the shop go like, hey, well, I guess they'd never lay on that sword and say, hey, we kind of fleeced you on those invoices. You might not share them. But
Well,
you
that's
know
what I
what I
mean.
mean?
That's why I said, like if we knew who the shop was, that could have helped validate or put a lot of people's mind at ease. Because if they are so-called this greatest shop, that knocks out really good work, then, that just would have added value or given people peace of mind. Like, okay, yeah, no, this shop knows their shit and they know what they're doing. Now, I can't help to think, I could be wrong with this assumption. It's probably a really good shop, but I almost want to say it's sort of like the Velocity car, not foxbody experts. Like it was like,
Mhm.
we got this K member. This K member isn't letting the motor sit the way that we want it to. Fuck it. We got fabricators in house. We're just going to make this K member work the way that we need it to work instead of going and buying the one that's going to work out of the box. Oh, the
Good
suspension is done
possibility.
that way and the suspension is off. No problem. We're going to treat it the way that we know how, based on all of our experience in other ways, which is not a horrible thing. Like, having people build stuff that is outside of their sandbox is how innovation and new ideas and new products get formed. So, right, like that airbox, like if that thing, and I think there was a bunch of 3D printing and like a whole bunch of shit that went into, right, designing a lot of that stuff. Well, you know what, that
Yeah.
could, some of that stuff, I know a lot of people would probably want to potentially purchase that. Meanwhile, the shop's just like, oh, well, we build that type of shit all the fucking time. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? Like, and that could quite be the mentality as well. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting way to look at it. And man, it's just funny. Like when you really think about that car and you put it up against the Velocity one, right? So both of
Mhm.
them are $250,000 cars,
Yeah. As far as invoices
right?
are
So
concerned, total.
take the hatch part away from the situation, but that hatch was an original 5.0 car, right? The Velocity car was a 4-cylinder notch. Um, which build do you prefer?
Yeah. That's a very good question, right?
Because I feel like that hatch was put together better than the Velocity car, personally.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I'll throw this one out there right now, not that we need to go on and on about it cuz I I can't quite bring myself to think of a good reason as to how or why this got factored in. The best guess I can take is this was like the client's one of the client's wants. But did you happen to see what they did with the tailpipes on that car?
I
They
didn't. Did they do under axle?
No, they went over like they should have, but then they brought them up again and dumped them like a GT.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
And it's really odd to, I mean, whatever, I call myself a purist, you know what I mean? Like it's really odd to see because you're like, what are we doing here? Is this like a dual four banger? Like it's just that it's the weirdest look going
Huh.
on. And you can kind of see the bottom of the pipe, like the tailpipe itself, and then it dumps, and you're like, what? You know, like just this is beyond cutting holes in GT's rear skirts. You know what I mean? This is a whole nother level. And hell, to each their own, right? I'm not trying to, I'm just sharing my opinion. Um, Not a good look. But to look at the car from the underside in that, like, you know, kind of point 0.5 view, I mean, beautiful car underneath. Like you could eat off that thing. It's fucking stunning. So the time was put in. And you know, bud, on that note, this is the thing that actually, I guess, aggravates me about, you know, like the comment side of things and stuff. It's just like, you know, not to say that a lot of the people that are shitting on the invoices and the overall build of the car and everything, not to say that some of it's not justified. However, each one of those people, I think, should take a little bit longer look in the mirror because they probably all do work on their own stuff. There was lots of comments in there saying, oh, I could have done it cheaper and whatever. And maybe they can. Okay. But if you take yourself seriously and you literally punch in and punch out every single time you lift a finger on that car that you're building, those hours add up real fucking fast.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think that no one was taking that into consideration, right? Cause like, I could do it for $8,000. It's like in parts, but like, you know what I mean? When you're doing it for someone else and you got a family to feed and everything else, and maybe, again, I'm just assuming, but maybe the client is like extra picky and it's like, man, like, I don't know. We got to find a balance here between like what I'm charging you and what you're expecting, you know? Um, I don't know. It's just, yeah, the timeline and shitting on the timeline. It's like, guys, you don't know the backstory here. Nor do I. But I'm assuming that there was really high expectations, and you got a shop that's going, man, like we're taking up a stall here, and guys, time. I got to pay this guy to work on it, and we got a machinist that's doing all this work for us too, and on and on and on. It's like, you know, you need to consider that before you just go like, holy shit, these shops were ripping people off. Like, I don't know if we got the whole story here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the car, because like, yeah, think about it. LX hatch, and albeit Coyote swapped and all that time and effort gone into it, right? Like that's really nice Cobra Celine money,
Whoa, yeah.
you know, all that type of stuff. So it's really, you know, I guess what am I trying to get at here? It's sort of like he could have spent a lot less building the car and got 50 versus
Right.
spending twice as much and only getting 77 is
Yeah.
probably the best way to look at it. So it was, you know, it was that extreme. It was going the extra mile on a lot of things. And the timing is interesting too, right? Because a lot of this was done pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
2018, 2019, if memory serves me right. So trying to put that into perspective as well. Like, okay, well, what was the cost in parts and labor? What did that stuff look like back then? Like, regardless, that was a beyond a shit ton of money to spend on that car
Totally.
in that
Yeah.
time.
Totally.
Like where foxbody is starting to come on the rise a little bit. Yeah. But like, man, this thing was almost ahead of its time. If you think about it, like if
Yeah.
that car, if he had sold it in 2021 or like, yeah, end of 2020, something like that, bet you a lot of money
In
would have been like, it would have gone for more.
Oh, for sure. I agree with that. Yeah. Um, Another thing too, I think I've got this correct. I think the shop is just south of me. Like I want to say it's in Washington State.
Hmm.
So this could be another reason as to why the vast majority of people are unfamiliar with this particular shop. You know what I mean? The eastern half of the United States is kind of where most of the population lies and where the shows are and most of these cars and everything else. So that there could be a disconnect there as to why nobody's ever heard of them. They're a Northwestern hot rod shop or whatever. And listen, guys, just for the record, like I'm not standing up for anybody here. I'm just kind of like sharing where my mind was going at the time. And I thought it was only fair to bring up the fact that like rather than everybody just jumping to conclusions, let's consider some other angles here. You know what I mean? Because like you said, buddy, like for all intents and purposes, beautiful car. Like
Yeah.
very subtle. You know what I mean? Like this is that stock plus kind of car. And I don't say that to cut it down. I mean, I kind of like that. A bit of a lion in sheep's clothing type deal. And like I say, underneath that car was beautiful, like to somebody that knows all them parts and can start adding up, what those cost. Like there's a lot of money thrown underneath that car, especially when you have such a subtle package. You go like, wow, like you can't even begin to appreciate how much money's in this car by just seeing it drive by,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that's just it. Like, even if it's parked in parking lot or you look in the interior, like I guess you would see the roll cage throughout it, but yeah, you see that factory gauge cluster and all that type of stuff, and you just be like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
it is what it
Speaking
is.
of which, I'm glad you brought that up. See, the roll cage was another clue, if you will, for me, where I'm like, is this one of those, like we've talked about it a few times, like just throwing the catalog at a car? You know what I mean? Like this individual wants to have like NASCAR stiff chassis. You know what I mean? And at the time, the Roadster shop didn't exist and whatever. And he's going, yeah, we got to cage it. Because you know what I mean? We're talking what, a 4.25 horse? Was it a Gen 350? Like
Yeah.
nothing outrageous. Like we're not worried about going down the track here in less than 9 seconds, guys. So what are we caging the car for? Like that was a head scratcher for me.
Yeah. And was there an invoice for all the roll cage work?
If there was, I didn't see it.
See, I didn't see it either. So my thought was sort of like, was this a former race car that got converted in a different light? Like sort of like Chuck's car was? Like dude had it a long time. Maybe it was just like a clean race car, and then he's like, screw it. Let's make it a nice street car.
Possible. Yeah. I know the one thing, like going off the paint story, like I think they said it was painted 10 years ago or something like that.
Minus the bay, right? Because I think they did the bay and did the floor, but the car was already done or something like that.
Yeah, shit, but I don't have a gauge on that. But if I was just a guessing man, I would assume that this wasn't a race car. Like I'm just trying to imagine the client based on the feels that I get of the story and the invoicing and everything else. And I'm like, doesn't strike me as the type of individual that would have bought a race car and sunk that much money into it.
Yeah.
It was probably a low miler. You know what I mean? Super clean, OG paint. At least that's the story that my head cooks up.
Yeah.
But
well, hey, nice car regardless.
beautiful.
I think it sold fair. At the end of the day, it's up to anybody to decide whether the work performed was of good value or not. And like you said, and lots of others, could it have been built cheaper? Maybe.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the circumstances or the amount of hours are the amount of hours, and the labor rate's the labor rate. And then if that's what it added up to be, then that's what it is.
I'm glad you brought that up. My eye paid attention to the labor rate, and the labor rate changes over the invoices. Like there's almost, I don't know what that translates into. Is it like, the shop feeling sorry, or is it, this didn't take, our guy with 40 years experience's time, or what it was. But Yeah, there was some invoices there for like 85 an hour, 110 an hour, $120 an hour. It varied.
Or
So
maybe it's just like, yeah, depending on the type of work,
true.
being performed.
Yeah.
No, interesting.
Okay. What's your take on the wheels? And I don't mean like, do you like them or not? I already know how you feel about them, but like, what's your assumption that what does your spidey sense tell you that the story behind these wheels are? Because there's allegedly 11 or 12 grand on that invoice.
So I want to, I didn't look close enough to be able to speak at an expert level in specifics to the wheels. However, I know a friend of mine's like, yeah, he was billed 3.5 hours of labor for a phone conversation about the wheels or something like that.
Correct. This
And
was actually sort of one of my indicators where I'm like, you know, the only reason that I can see somebody getting billed for something like that, I'm just going to say it, they're a pain in the ass. Like,
yeah, and don't get me wrong, most times, like, don't get me wrong, if you have a customer coming in the door, it's like one of those like, oh, free consultation. You know what I mean? Or if you get a consultation and then you end up doing the work, then you get the money back off the consult, or however you want to look at it. There's always
give and
um
take.
yeah, there's a buffer there. And throughout a build process, there should be good communication and back and forth within a reasonable expectation on both parties, right? Like, your client needs to be informed of what's going on, or if there's questions or roadblocks and hurdles, and conversations need to be had in order to come to decisions to work around the hurdles and meet what the overall objective of the build is. Now, with that said, if you have a customer, and I've had this, that micromanages to the nth degree is pretty much going to try and tell you how you're supposed to do it or why they want it, and kind of almost undermining you to a certain extent, but at the same time, it's customers want that sense of, I don't want to say control, but like sense of contribution, so that they don't always just feel like, oh, I'm just writing checks and I'm getting this thing that I had no input about. And if anybody, I guess, can't see that from a car perspective, it would be the same like going through when you're building a house, and like you got your wife there or significant other or whatever, and then it's like
Hovering.
hovering. And as more time goes by, more ideas come to fruition.
Right.
So those original wall colors and countertops and everything that you might have picked in the beginning, well, then you see a post somewhere, or somebody else, like I said, the significant other sees something, or you go visit a friend and you see what they did. And then it's like, whoa, whoa. And then the change orders start flying. And that's where replication of work can start happening. That's where, some frustrations can be had. And like any change order, whether it's construction, or automotive or building, it's sort of like, you know what? You fuck around, you're going to find out, and you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay
Well,
the fuck around fee because you did it to yourself. And,
yeah.
if said shop is of the caliber that we're assuming they are, a lot of this would have been laid out in the beginning. There would have been a clear scope of work that was decided upon, and not just some blank canvas with a check that was handed over and said, hey, just build me a nice car and I'll be on my way. So with all those things, yeah, that's I could see how some of that would be taken and built accordingly. And now to these wheels, I think there was probably like we need something that's factory, right? And it's sort of like bringing that whole whatever the Coyote theme or generation of Coyote motor into the Fox body. So it was like, okay, well, some anniversary wheels or whatever it's going to fit will work. I'm assuming that these wheels are at least OEM and not reps.
Yeah.
So
I would hope.
right.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a little bit more costly on that side. I also assume that we're not using some Chinese made tires, and that, you know, we got some good Michelin's or Pirellis or whatever it is that are going to be a couple $1,000s, like $500 a tire. I'd almost say that there could have been I want to fit the widest tire as I can in the back, and oh shit, it rubbed. Now we got to buy a new set of tires. So extra $1,000 in tires because of a poor decision that was made there. There could have been issues with offsets as a result, where they had to deal with, oh crap, that wheel isn't going to clear the caliper properly. And guys, I don't know what the calipers.
Yeah, we're just
I'm throwing
assuming.
out all the scenarios of what could happen here, because it's, you know, I run into it. I got the Cadillac ATS. Your wheels are limited. Just because you have an 18 or a 19 doesn't mean that you have enough offset. So you have clearance against the inner, not the barrel necessarily, but from like the inner face of the wheel hitting the caliper, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sure that this customer wasn't the type of customer that would be down with spacers to compensate for that. So then it's like, oh shit, yeah, we got to machine the spindles, or we got to swap the control arms or refabricate the control arms to pull shit in more. So that way we can get, you know, avoid rubs, and then we can get the right clearance. So on and so forth. That, you know, maybe it was, we want a wider wheel than what we can buy. Maybe, like, was this car mini tubbed?
I don't believe it was, but the wheels were
Were they
staggered. I want to
widened?
say, yeah, I think the
Yeah.
rear was 9.5, front was whatever. And what did those come like, as eights or something? Like I don't even know off the top of my head, but
Well, or
whatever
narrowed.
they were,
Yeah, because it could have
yeah,
been
I
like
want to say they were.
so the rear probably fit okay, but the fronts were probably poking as a result of the setup, and they probably had to cut the wheel and weld it and narrow it in order for it to look the part. And I'm
Yeah,
not saying that that is what happened, but if you factor in not all of
for
those
that
things that I
fuckery.
just went through, but you factor in just a couple of those, um, yeah, the price can be, the cost for even a shitty set of wheels. I shouldn't say shitty, but like
Yeah,
normal set
generic.
of wheels, right? Can be extremely expensive. And maybe the customer was like, because think about it, right? Like they could have done all the measuring and calculations to get the right offsets, the right sizes, and all that stuff, and gone to Victory Custom Wheels, which is, if you're saying the shop is in Washington, well,
Yeah,
Victory's in Vancouver, I think, right? So just on the other side of the border, you know, 4,500, maybe five grand for something super custom, plus your $2,500 in tires that you throw on there, and, you know, fuck around costs and whatever. So call it 8 grand. And
yeah,
that's a realistic build, knowing what you need and bolting it on. Now
yeah.
they took something, went the other way, and had to make something work, which, you know, seems like it should be less money, but it ultimately ended up being more. And then, like, whether they powder coated the inner barrels or resurfaced the faces of the wheels, and yeah, I mean, did
Yeah.
this, that, the next thing, like it's all money.
Summed up beautifully, my friend. Um, as you were saying that, it reminded me of one of the write-ups that I read, and I believe after the wheels were on, there was some rub on one side, and that's where the machining came in. And like, it was, to your point about wheel spacers, like, I think the intention of this car was not going to be any corners cut. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if we need to shave an inch here, an inch there, like it's not going to be done by a quick and easy fix. It's going to be done like, mechanically, like we're going to physically change this car to accept what we want on it.
And
And that is, in my opinion, what sums up a lot of these invoices. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
just, this is what it like. Go to fucking Martin Brothers. I mean, I don't think if anyone wants to share that invoice with you, they'll probably kill you at the end of it because now you know something that they don't want anyone else knowing. And that's no knock against them, but like this is custom car building, guys. And sure,
yeah.
the end product resembles the Velocity car, which doesn't really look all that custom, but I think that was the goal,
Well, here's a
right?
good comparison, right? So there's that car that was built. Again, I'm assuming it's a shop that doesn't know Fox bodies, as intimately as some. Then we could take either Justin's Atomic Fox or even Chuck's car. That again, one was Chuck had the maker's garage wheels, which clearly Jason states they won't clear the ATS calipers, and I made those wheels. What the fuck was that?
Yeah,
Made those
Chris.
wheels clear that, and then same thing with Justin's car. And it's, if you were trying to do it and not know what you can do. So for instance, with the Cadillac calipers, when you get that S&S kit, you end up running a 3mm shim behind the rotor. And so it's pushing your rotor out, which is going to push your wheel out 3mm. And the caliper is now technically 3mm closer to the interface of the wheel because
Yep.
Of the way that the caliper by design is doing that. That's why you got to like shim the rotor out. So what you can do is you can actually have the back mounting part of the caliper machined down 3mm so that you can move the caliper in those 3mm so that your rotor is centered, and then you don't need to run the shim.
Right.
And so some people might be like, man, that's a lot of work. It's only 3mm or whatever. Well, that's the difference of being able to run the wheel versus not
Yeah.
run the wheel, or, not having to grind down the face of the caliper. Cause I did have to do that with Chuck's car, to
Right.
be able to get the inside of the maker's wheel to clear it. So like having done that enough, and that's not just necessarily a Fox body thing, that's repeatedly working with those ATS calipers and knowing, what you can get away with and what you can't. Now, the first time that I ever had to deal with a situation like that took me a lot of time to figure out and make that stuff work, which I think is sort of like what happened here. The next time around, it's not going to take you that long. Now, my approach, generally speaking, is that I know if I come across a roadblock on a Fox body that I haven't come across before, I don't charge the customer for my own research and professional development, if you will,
Yeah.
in order to overcome that obstacle and make something work, because I know I'm going to benefit from learning what that problem was and coming up with the solution down the road, because I'm going to still be working on Fox bodies, and I'm going to come across having to bolt on ATS caliper after ATS caliper in this case, versus the shop where it's like
Maybe
everything's a
one and done.
one-off. It's a Fox
Yeah.
body this time. It might be the only Fox body that we ever work on. You're going to pay for whatever it costs for us to figure out what we need to do in order to make it work. Two completely, and they're both justified and validated. I have my reasons why I don't need to charge for that. They have their reasons why they can and they should charge for that. You gotta remember, the customer picked the shop. The customer didn't need to pick that shop, knowing what their labor rate was, knowing, what needed to go in to make a car like that, right? So he probably chose them because of their reputation, because of their abilities and their employees. They're the fact that he was probably confident that they would actually be able to deliver something of high caliber. So he was willing to pay all of the fuck around costs that they might have come across in order to come up with that end goal.
Yeah. Again, very well summed up, my friend. That's exactly where I was coming from on a lot of this shit, you know? And I think it's worth mentioning too, like I said this in videos, I'm pretty sure I've said it on here a few times, like the relationship that you have with whatever shop it is that you pick is a lot like a marriage.
Mhm.
And typically, you know, if you vet appropriately and you know, you choose wisely, you'll get more from the shop you're dealing with than you'll have to give. You know what I mean? Because to your point about like the whole professional development stuff and whatever, um, that is not things that people that consider themselves experts in a certain body, right, are going to charge for.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like anything, you know, you can sum this up to like just the relationship you have with your close friends, which a really good friendship, in my opinion, is one where both parties feel as though it's almost like a competition to see who can give more, you know, like, and that builds great relationships, right? If you're always trying to one another, right? Like, no, don't get up, I'll get up this time, or no, I'm bringing dinner tonight and beer's on me, and you know what I mean? And if you chose your friend wisely, you won't get fucked because they will reciprocate the same thing. I can't help but think like the same thing goes for like client and shop relationships, you know? Um,
Yeah.
like you were saying about the whole change order and all that stuff, like you pick the shop for a reason. You don't need to hover, you know, by all means, come by like Friday beers. If that's the way that shop operates, then yeah, come on in, right? And you ain't getting charged time for asking questions when you're over for Friday beers. But you picked them for a reason. You know what I mean? Don't forget that. Um, and if you're going to be nitpicky about things, like, I mean, there's a give and take, you know what I mean? And you gotta understand that. Um, yeah, I guess in whatever, trying to wrap this whole mess of information up, like we don't know the shop, we don't know the customer. We wish both well. And whatever, just sharing our opinions
And the
here.
new
But
owner.
yeah, totally. Oh, I think that fucker's laughing all the way to the bank. He got a great car.
Yeah.
Change those tailpipes and he's fucking dancing.
And the wheels.
Right. Well, fuck, $12,000 set of wheels. You're never getting that money out of them again. But I guess I thought it would be an interesting exercise to let two over explainers like you and I kind of share different angles of this, right? Because I don't know, the comment section of the one Facebook post I was reading, I'm like, good grief, guys! Like, this is just like, it seems as though anyway, like just verbal diarrhea, you know, of just your instant reaction. You know what I mean? Like nobody's taken into account the 24-hour rule where you like sleep on it and then come back and think your way through. It's just like, ugh, fucking throw up everywhere. And then you get other people that maybe had a bad day that are like, fuck yeah, I'm waiting on this one, right? Keyboarding it up. It's like, oh my God, they got ugly quick, you know? So yeah, some different perspective I thought would be kind of fun to kick around. But all that said, yeah, I think like beautiful car, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like even the money spent, and this is just me and what I like, and I think anyone that's watched or heard us talk, you kind of know what my idea of nice in a Fox is. Not nice, like what my idea of what I want is, that's not what I want. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't spend anywhere near that amount of money on a relatively stock plus looking car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can I appreciate it all day long? Fuck yeah. You know what I mean? All the credit in the world. If that's what you're going for, great. But yeah, for all the just parts alone, like you say, the guy pretty much just got a car and saved all the labor,
Yeah.
you know? And now maybe just let's kick this horse one more time quickly. What do you think your estimate on the fuck around total is? If let's just call it 200 grand that was spent, what do you think the fuck around amount is?
Well, we know that there's probably what, 100K in like parts, or like easily justifiable taking labor out of it. I don't know. I'd probably want to assume something like that.
Yeah.
You know, all that shit. So if we got like 100K and labor and all that stuff, some rebuy, probably 30%.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of where I was at too. Like just the onesie twosies, you know, there was one in there on like, or maybe there was 2 or 3 on like some little like glitchy tuning related shit. Time at dyno, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, I couldn't help but think like, which is without more context, I think this is why the community just like fucking pounced on this thing, is like, guys, like that stuff does cost people money to do. You know what I mean? If they don't have the dyno at the shop, even if they did, they're making payments on it, or they're what, you know what I mean? Like you got to charge for this shit. But yeah, just I don't know, the onesie twosie, like, hey, this is wrong, this isn't right, I need this changed as well, the whatever. Like I thought probably 30% at least was kind of fair.
Yeah.
And
well,
yeah,
here's a good analogy or a comparison as well, right? Look at our friend Mr. KSD Notch that is doing his engine bay for the third time.
I think it might be, isn't it?
Second or third time. I want to say it's the third time overall, because I think he got it done, then he had some touch-ups, and now it's a complete overhaul again.
Yeah.
And he's made a point that, you know, he's sharing the journey, the realities of things, and trying to make everything like no expense spared at this point. And to think, or I guess to address those that were like, oh, I could do it cheaper, or, I mean, that guy overpaid on the build. Well, Ken did it cheaper the first time around, the second time around, and now it's the third time around, and he's paying that expensive cost now, but that money from before is literally, don't get me wrong, he had a really nice car, he enjoyed it, it looked really good. Maybe it could have looked good for a long time, but it's one of those things where, you know, if you want perfection, which I think was the order on this hatch, you're going to pay for it. And when we were talking about that velocity car or anybody's build, like if you are doing if you have full paint, full suspension, brakes, and whether it's a Coyote, a Godzilla, shit, even if it's a fully built traditional small block, you're building one of these cars for 100K plus in this climate. Now, again, if we rewind back to 2018, I don't know where Coyotes were at that point, because like there was a point in time where Coyotes were on the cheaper side of things. Like I don't know what that T50, I think is a T56 that was in that car. Control pack costs, like I'm sure it was on those invoices to a good degree, but I would be curious to compare the pricing of all the hard parts then versus now, because I'm sure they're all even more expensive at this point. So, you know, again, to the point where the 77 is probably the cost of parts that it was at the time. Now it's going to be 100K for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, very good point. I know, because for like how that car shows, and I get sure you can clean them up or whatever, but like I can't help but think that that thing probably didn't have a whole pile of miles put on it over the years once it was completed. It showed as if it was like just done, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it was dry iced. I don't know, maybe that's a stupid consideration, but um yeah, that's definitely worth considering, which I guess in a roundabout way doesn't really do much for justifying this big hypothetical amount of money that was spent. Um, but see, that's the thing too, and I guess the owner or the seller has to be aware of that. Like, if you're going to go out on a limb, especially in the car community, on like how much money's been spent, you got to be prepared for the snapback. You know,
Yeah.
like funny enough, dude. Um, one of my reels, which are always for the most part meant to be funny. Fuck, in case anyone didn't know that already, but um I did one where I said how I feel knowing that I got over 100K into a $4,000 shit box or something like that, which were numbers I completely pulled out of my ass, which I think anyone with half a fucking IQ knows that. But anyway, the amount of people that are like, no fucking way you got 100 grand into that car, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, again, it's just that instant pounce, right?
Right.
Like, and for all I know, I probably do, maybe even more. I've owned the fucking thing since 97.
Well, dude,
Like I've thrown
hey,
shit
you
at
know
it
what?
for how many years?
Even better, we did the math on the shipbox Fox.
True enough. Yeah.
Like that was like I think like what did we do? I think we did like $100 an hour labor or $50 an hour, and then I think we dumbed
I
it
think we
down to even
split it,
like
dude. I think we said that we would do $100 flat, which is 50 each.
yeah, and it was still 50 grand.
Yeah. For a
So
car that was fucked to look at, like,
uh so
and I
yeah,
mean,
like time is
we
money.
it is. And we had some fucking around, but we're not a full-blown machine shop.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? We pulled the bench grinder out on the ground with an extension cord, stood on it with one hand, and fucking used it with the other. Like, you know what I mean? But just to put things into perspective, and I know we've got a lot of level-headed listeners. I'm sure they're going to get where we're coming from, right? But yeah, it's weird how money is a really fucked up thing. In case anyone didn't know this already, it does really, really weird people or weird things to people, you know, and gives people weird impressions and weird interpretations. And it's just so funny how quick we are to like jump all over that shit. Um, but yeah, like I say, back to my point, like I've had, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 different exhaust kits on this car. Like, and when you factor that into the hypothetical $100,000 parts list, you know what I mean? It's like I'm kind of in Ken's boat where I'm undoing and redoing, you know, few sets of wheels and this and that. And I mean, fuck, that does not consider my time. I'll tell you that fucking much for sure.
Yeah.
Christ, I'd be into this thing for half a mil at that point. But yeah, to your point though, like, yeah, a lot of it not chargeable either. Professional development, whatever. I owned this car when I was 17, a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm actually quite happy with this outcome, buddy. I'm glad we had this chat because yeah, this was sort of the angle that I had hoped we were gonna come around to it from. And I'm sure a lot of people out there already thought everything that we were saying, but I thought it was worth saying. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things to consider here with this car. And based on the comment section of Facebook, there was not a lot of consideration here. Not a lot of perspectives were considered. It was just fucking instant red hot.
Yeah.
Whoever posted it, like, really helped the algorithm along. You know what I mean? This thing, you knew it was going to go on fire. Holy shit.
And the crazy thing is that all of that hype, all of those comments, and bullshit, and none of them had anything to do with the bidding, the purchase, the
Right.
sale, nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
your opinion's like worth nothing because you contributed nothing to the sale of that car.
Yeah. That's always the story, right? It's like, I think War Admiral, he's the one that loves this one the most, right? It's like whenever you get a off color comment or whatever, right? Click the profile and you see like the Toyota Tercel. Like, what are you doing weighing in, bud? You know, like, come on. You're the guy behind the guy that's trying to have a fist fight, barking insults, you know? Like, sit
Yeah.
down. Fuck. Well, or the other thing is like, and again, I don't know the answer to this question, but I think it's worth asking. Like, if you're going to comment, have you been down the road of something to this caliber before? Have you ever attempted to, or have you just imagined that you would do it one day and you thought, oh, there's no way it costs this much. It's going to cost this much. It's like, well, I did a fucking heads cam and intake video a few years ago where I literally went through websites and I was like, here's how much this costs. Here's how much this costs. And oh, yeah, don't forget you're going to want this too. And don't forget the most dangerous fucking sentence in building anything is while I'm in here, I should also do this. That is a really fucking dangerous sentence to say. And we've all said it, guys.
Yeah.
That's what costs the most money. You know, it gets out of control. And then when you factor in the fact that you might be paying someone else to look after while we're in there, we may as well do this thing. This goes up fast, especially if you're a hoverer of a client. You're costing yourself money while you're hovering, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I do get it. I don't want to make it sound like we're shitting on the hoverers because, like, you know, when you're building your dream car or whatever it is, I get it. You want to be involved, and whether you have the means and don't have the time or whatever that looks like, I totally get that. But I just think like everybody's got to be realistic with like their existence at that point in time. You know what I mean? It's like, I might cause them more trouble than I really need to be right now. And I got to maybe remind myself why I hired the guy and that whole thing, you know, just be more aware. Fuck, I wish the world was more aware of who they are, how they portray themselves, and what they say. And I don't know, maybe I could even learn some from that too. I try to be very aware, try to raise my kids to be very aware. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of people out there that are like really low on the awareness scale these days. And that's probably a lot of the reason why we're in the shit we are, you know, jumping down each other's throats in the comment section and fucking whatever else. It's crazy, man.
Sure is. Sure is.
We got an hour and a half out of that beating. Not an hour and a half, hour and 8 minutes.
Yeah. Not too bad. Well, I think we beat the velocity car up a little bit more, but two very similar beasts in nature to be honest. And right, it's interesting to see. And that's not even, that car wasn't, it's not a chassis car either. You know what I mean? Like, chassis weren't available then, but just to kind of put it again, if you wanted to do another comparison, would that bill, let's say the spec chassis was available and that's something that the customer wanted, would the bill have been less money having just bought the chassis fully outfitted, all the suspension geometry and everything else, the braking, all that shit's all taken care of. The motor mounts are there, already designed for stock hood to close. There's headers for the Coyote, all that stuff. You know, fully loaded and whatever, what are 35, 40K.
6 bolts later, you're rolling. Yeah.
Yep. Like, would that have actually reduced the cost of that build and the outcome been the same, potentially better? Be a good one to know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good point, right? I don't know. And yeah, just expectations, right? That's such a scary thing that we as humans have. And when they're not realistic with them, right? Like it's that whole like throwing the catalog at something, you know? And
Yeah.
so many people want to do that. It's like, I don't know, say the T56, right? Like for all intents and purposes, probably the end all be all of like soup to nuts transmissions that you can put in any fucking vehicle for that matter, right? But like, at what point is it justifiable to have a T56? You know, if you got yourself like a 30 over fucking nice little set of aluminum heads 5.0, does that need a T56 behind it? You know what I mean? But
Well,
over beers, your buds have got in your head. You need a fucking T56. You know what I mean? So again, it's this whole awareness thing and like trying to know what it is you want the outcome to be like. That's a fucking T5 car all day,
oh yeah. And
you know?
to that point, actually, so the Cobra, I'm putting a 3650 behind it.
Right.
$200 transmission out of the wrecking yard.
Yep.
And I'll probably, same thing, I'm going to bolt that thing on, and someone's going to be like, oh, it's behind a Godzilla and you're doing all this other work to that Cobra, and you're going to just put a $200 transmission in it. And it's sort of like, well, it's an NA motor, it's street car,
What else do you need?
30, the 3650 is going to handle it just fine. But, I got the
Mhm.
gearing in the rear end and everything that, I'm going to be fine. Like, it's, you're almost, if I wanted to put a T56 in, it's like you're just burning money. And to the point of that car, the question, it's like where, you could have put, you could have done the same thing in that Coyote. You could have put a 3650 in that car, and it still would have pulled the 77K.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point, you know?
Like, so there
Um,
was no added value whatsoever. Now, if the car had, a blower or whatever, it's making 1,000 wheel horsepower, even a T56. Fourth gear is kind of a weak link in them. You'd probably want a TKX or something beefy that can take the power that the motor's putting out. But like otherwise, it's just, you're just shopping that catalog, burning money.
that's just it, buddy. And then again, it comes down to like, you know, the owner's realistic expectations. Like, what are you going to do with this car? Right. Which is like the $1 million question in any fucking car build. Well, you know, I'm gonna want to go to some shows and you know, go for a cruise with the wife on Sunday, kids, ice cream, whatever. It's like, okay, like, do you plan on doing long distance with it? Like, is this thing gonna be in like 80 mile an hour scenarios for long periods of time? No, probably not. Well, then what the fuck are we dealing with even like a fifth gear transmission, let alone a sixth? You know what I mean? Like, and listen, folks, I know they all most have five gears, but I'm just trying to be like extra out there with this where it's like sixth is still going to have the plastic on the fucking gears. You're never going to use it.
Well, hey, my Lincoln, same thing. Originally, it was like, Godzilla. Yeah, man, I should put 10R80 in that fucking 10 speed, be badass. And I'm like, man, this can be a fucking air ride, low
Slow.
cruiser. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to put a 4R70 behind that fucking thing. Again, another $200 transmission. And it's going to do just fine with the 4 speeds that it has.
Yeah.
Because slab, not because race car needs 10 speeds and to be
Yeah.
constantly in the power band, like, so I
And
think there
that, but
needs to be more of that. There needs to be more, I don't know, reality with some of these builds. And like, I guess, whatever, good job with the marketing and,
yeah.
advertising and all that to kind of make people think that they need to have that stuff. But like I said, burning money, adding zero value to the build.
Mhm.
You know, coilover is another one to a certain extent, depending what you're doing. Like, there's a lot of things that save the money, put it into a proper set of wheels,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. Like I say, the big overarching uh scenario surrounding all this is, I think, just being realistic with yourself, right? And what you want, because not being realistic can get expensive fast, you know? I get it if you just want it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the trans you wanted a T56 since you knew what they were. Okay, great. You know what I mean? But like, just know that, that's a bunch of thousands that you don't need to spend. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just,
Yeah.
I don't know. And you can put that towards something else. You know what I mean? We can
See,
shimmy and shake here.
an individual reached out to me last week, I think, and they said, you know, they weren't trying to make a ton of power or anything, but they wanted to have some really nice wheels and a good stance. And they said, do I need to go 5 lug? And the reality, I said, here's the reality. I'm like, you could do a poor man's 5 lug swap. And, you know what I mean? I get it. You'll have potentially the more wheel options, but then you're still drums in the back. You got possible center caps that aren't going to fit, you know, on the front, all that stuff. So it's like, no, you know, like I do the spindles and I, you know, do disc and all that out back. And I'm like, well, you're going to spend all that money because spindles is one thing, you know what I mean? A couple $100, and if you powder coat them or you paint them and then you put new hubs on them, and then even if you do whatever cheap, you know, brake setup in the back, GT rotors and versus Cobra, which is probably $50 in difference this day and age, but you get into the booster, you get into the master, you get into the lines, you get into the labor to install all that stuff. It's like, it's a couple $1,000 all to come back and say, fuck, I spent a lot of money. Shit, I'm going to go buy a set of SVT wheels in 5 bolt now. I'm going to bolt them on. And it's like, okay, yeah, you got your 18-inch wheels on there now and whatever. You got 4-wheel disc. I'm like, you could, on the other hand, have a set of custom made wheels again from Victory Custom, and you'd be like, oh shit, 4,500. That's a lot of fucking money for wheels. Well, you just saved $3,000 on not doing the 5-bolt conversion, and you were going to dump 1,500 on a set of SVE wheels. You got $4,500 to have custom wheels made in 4. And the testament to this is, what's his name? Eric Billings, that white notch that was recently done and sitting on Victory Custom Wheels. He was at Radwood and he had it up for sale, I think, for $55K.
Okay.
4-lug, drums in the back. Let me tell you, nobody gave a fuck when they saw how clean the car was and the wheels that car was sitting on.
Was it kind of a fuller faced wheel? Like, that's always my kind
Yeah,
of.
it was like a CCW classic kind of vibe. And I know Victory has their own name for that, but it's like CCW-esque. So like, yeah, I get it. You're not seeing as much drum, but like technically speaking, you could do Cobra, like 93 Cobra 4-wheel,
Yeah,
or like
and stay 4-lug.
you could stay 4-lug and put discs in the back, not fuck with your booster, not, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you got the proportioning valve and do that stuff, but I mean, you could still have disc in the back way more affordably, not go down that rabbit hole of having to change everything. And then you could have your set of really nice wheels. Again, you're not making a shit ton of power Foxbody's brakes factory actually work quite well. And if you think your factory brakes don't work quite well, guys, flush the fucking fluid that's probably never been changed.
Yeah.
It's probably half water at this stage.
A little
And
spongy.
yeah. So I say this because I got this convertible I'm working on, right? And the guy's like, oh, I know you need to flush all the fluids and this, that. And like, dude, I get the car up. There's fucking cobwebs and like tumbleweed friggin' blowing underneath this thing. And I'm like, dude, when's the last time this car was on the road? He's like 2017. And I'm like, you know, that sounds like not that long ago, guys, but that's 9 years now. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's put this into perspective. So this car was sitting for 9 years and like temperatures and whatever, like the fluid, brake fluid that came out of that thing was nasty.
Ooh.
Pads were good, rotors were good, the shoes, all that stuff. Like the maintenance was up to date, but even if the fluid was fresh 9 years ago, that is a serviceable item on any maintenance schedule, is to flush your braking system. So,
And it's a lot shorter than you think too. It's not
yeah,
every 10 years.
yeah. And you know what? Or add braided lines. And even with drums in the back, like, man, the shit stops fine if you don't have, you know what I mean? You're not driving 140 mile an hour. So
Yeah. And racing. Like
yeah,
it's the fade that I guess everybody worries about. But I mean, yeah, I agree. That's
so
interesting, bud.
yeah, like that's the way that I see it. It's like, man, like you don't need to go down that catalog. Like just, I mean, get the wheels you want, save the money that you didn't need to spend. Especially like, and I hate it too. Like there's so many cars that I do these 5 bolts, and it's amazing to me that there's that many cars that still need 5 lug or want 5 lug swaps done. Like you think they'd all be done at this point because everybody's just like thinks that it's something that needs to be done. But the amount of like almost brand new rear shoe kits and brand new calipers and pads and like all this shit that's just literally getting thrown in a scrap bin because you can't give it away.
Yeah.
You know, perfectly good functioning parts, and you're just kind of just throwing it all away, you know, for this bigger picture thing that you don't really need. And don't get me wrong, big calipers look cool, especially you got open spokes, nice big rotor in there, like, but you know, if you're running the CCWs or any of that stuff, guys, take advantage. Paint the calipers and the drums black.
Hide them. Yeah.
Keep them discreet. Make the wheels pop. Don't worry about the rest.
Yeah. I think in the Foxbody world, the 5 lug swap is like the definition of like psychological mindfuck, because it just seems like such a big gap to bridge of like, yeah, but am I going to regret if I don't do it now? Right. And you think to yourself, well, maybe I won't. And then you go, yeah, but I might want to change wheels 3 years from now. And, you know, they're more of a spokey, you know what I mean? Not a capped wheel and whatever. And it's like just paralysis by analysis. You know what I mean? And most guys just go, yeah, you know what? Like I got some room on the credit card. I'm going to eat this one. $2,000, 2,500, whatever. Let's like properly 5 lug swap 4-wheel disc brake this thing. And then I'm done. And quite honestly, like once you do, I think mentally you just go like, oh, right. Okay. Glad that's out of the way. Never have to be thought about again. No more buyer's remorse. Let's just move on. Now I get the whole fucking world of 5-bolt wheels to pick from. Right. But to your point, and I think you probably are one of the best people to explain this because of all the horsing around that you've done with like European Mercedes, kind of more famous in the German world wheels, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff actually comes with like funky little 4-bolt shit. Maybe they were off a V dub or something, you know? And you might end up just re-drilling them anyway. And it's like, well, do you want to pay the re-drill cost and 5-lug swap it? Like maybe not. I don't know. Like what's the end result here?
Well, yeah, because the yellow car is perfect example, right? So that's disc in the rear. So it's the motorsport calipers, still 4-lug car, bore bets filled and drilled 4-lug because they were a 5x120 originally. So welded them up, drilled them out to 4-lug, and way you go.
Yep. Yeah. It's, I don't know. I hope people don't get tired of hearing this topic. I think it's one of the topics that's like a real close second or third to like what oil you run in your car or what filter kind of thing. Because I I don't know. It amazes me, but there's still people out there that I think need to like be shook a little bit and just go like, you don't need to do everything you think you are, right? And that's going to be a really expensive road if you keep running down it. And you could end up with a $200,000 stock looking car. Like, I mean, no, that's a stretch. But yeah, it's the shit adds up very, very, very quickly. And I always love when we have this chat, dude, because my screen that I look on you in is bumped up so it's a little bit easier to look at on 4, maybe 5 old 5.0 mags, right? And every time we have this chat, I glance down and I'm like, it's those fucking mags, man. Like they were the devil for all of us because they made you, like you say, the marketing made you think you needed this,
Yeah.
you know? And man, that's a slippery slope. And then when you come at this, say from the imaginary example of what I've kind of laid out as what I think the current day, like getting back into the Fox world client is, where it's like knew him in high school, probably had the mags, maybe didn't have one or had to get rid of it real quick and want to get back in. And it's like, okay, I got some bucks to spend. Like we're going to do it right. And it's like, hold on, Tiger. You know, you might want to like settle down a little bit and think this out. Maybe Excel spreadsheet your build out here and or talk to somebody that, you know, has done a pile of these and go like, yeah, you don't need to do that. If you don't want to, you could spend it here. Like have that friendly, almost psychological conversation of like, what's the end goal? Okay, let's start there and we'll work our way back. Like that's a like almost priceless conversation that you can have.
No, sure is.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
that car did sell too. That $55,000 notch, 4-lug notch.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
For ask, do you know?
I'm not sure, but he told me he sold it. So yeah, he's on
Was it a
the
low
lookout
miler?
It was reasonable, but like he had gone through and freshened everything up. Like it had fresh paint on it. The bay was done, had a nice little Vortec on it. Like just kind of like clean, simple, nostalgic to a certain extent. You know, which goes a long way. Just less is more sometimes. And it looks so good with those wheels and the black belt line on it too.
Right.
Because I know like that's not the black belt line isn't for everyone. And it was like I was never a fan of it either. And then when I got the Cali Coupe car, it's sort of the same thing because I was going to paint it. And then I was like, man, I kind of dig the black. I mean, Lewis's car even looks great with it.
100%. Yeah, just something a little different, little breakup of things, and that's cool. Well, and I mean, when you think about it, I want to say we've had this conversation before, but like the maybe it was with the 50 Asylum boys, we had this chat and we were kind of trying to speculate like what the next thing was. And one of us, could have been me, maybe, came at that question from the angle of like, you know, I almost wonder if we've gone like too far in one direction and we almost need to like, it'll like, I see it swinging around and coming back to, like you say, this little white coupe with a Vortec on it. Maybe a set of heads and a cam and whatever. And it's kind of that, like the epitome of what you dreamt of having when you couldn't afford to have it.
Yeah.
Versus this like velocity car. You know what I mean? Maybe it was when we were talking about the velocity car. I don't know. It was something around that. I can see it. You know what I mean? Because when money for a lot of us is not infinite, and you gotta, if you are realistic with yourself and you try to think like, what is going to make me the happiest, satisfy all five of my senses. So I'm going to get the noise I want, the smell I want, all that stuff. Right. And it's kind of that white coupe,
Yeah.
you know, like a little Windsor motor with a screaming little blower on it, 6, 7, 8 pounds of boost. Like, what a fucking hoot. And not
Yeah.
break the bank. Like you're coming in under what a brand new car would get you. And a brand new car is not going to satisfy all those little high school tickles that you've got.
Yeah.
Now the brand new car may satisfy the wife more, right? AC is going to blow cold. It's not going to smell like a fucking cat pissed in it and whatever else. But I don't know. Depends on what you want at the end of the day, right? And what your goals are. But yeah, that's kind of the way I see it going.
Yeah.
And then is like, the stuff that like Bill chases, the motorsport stuff, like I can see that making, not that it hasn't lost its luster or it's not popular right now, but I can see those builds being like way more popular as that shit becomes less available. And you know um I can't help but think that that's kind of the deal, right? Like, look at you and your yellow coupe. Like,
Yeah.
great car, not taking anything away from it, but like, is it a $1 million build? Like, no, not at all. But it's checking all these boxes for you of like what you wished you could have had back in the day,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And you're realistic with yourself with it. Like, what am I going to do with this thing? I'm going to cruise it to a couple of shows. Like, this thing will be lucky if it sees fifth gear. So you're not shopping for a T56 fucking car. You know what I mean? Like, wicked sound system, runs great, blows cold, makes great noises. Like,
Yeah.
done.
Oh, true that.
Just
I did
enjoy
buy
the shit out
another.
of it.
I'm going to be on my third steering wheel though.
Oh, you changing that up?
All these fucking Momo wheels, man. I just I loved the look of the first one, although it had that flat bottom and it was just the diameter was a little small, and I was like, man, it's like I'm in a go-kart. Didn't like it. So then I went to more of a traditional leather wrapped Monte Carlo, very similar to what Dutch would have used back in the day. But like then I was missing the thickness of the diameter of the wheel, and the leather is like more of a charcoaly color, so it's not as dark. And the horn button is sweet though, because yellow horn button kind of goes with the whole yellow theme of things.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I can live with it, but it does have yellow stitching, which is really nice. So it's like
Cool.
this charcoal color and it's yellow stitched with the yellow horn. So it was just the diameter, the thickness. It was driving me nuts. So then I got a different style, and I forget what it is now. It is an Alcantara or like suede, whatever, wrap, but it's thicker. And I think it's the one.
Mm.
Yeah.
There is something to be said, hey, about a steering wheel's thickness. I don't want to go too far down this road because your filthy mind's already going there. But like what's funny is my 92, fuck, I'm gonna walk myself into this, is thicker than my 91.
Ah,
Right? Like there is a difference over the years, or maybe it's not a year thing, maybe it's just this lot of them or whatever. But there's really something to be said about that, because I know like my pickup, my daily driver, it is like, in my mind, it is perfect.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the overall size, the diameter of it, the whole bit feels good in my hand.
You love the thickness.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, there's something to be said about that, because if there is something off, it's almost like I don't know, like your brain just feels weird. You're kind of like, ugh, this is weird. I remember with my 70 GM, it had the stock wheel in it, and they were all plastic, and the back's indented for your
Yeah.
fingers to fit into, but very like it just felt dainty. And the wheel overall was quite large too. And it was just like, I don't know, there was a small part of me that's kind of like, yeah, like this is just it's kind of what's supposed to be there, but it just always felt weird, especially in
Yeah.
a pickup. You're kind of like you feel like you're driving with your thumb and your finger. And it's like, what the fuck are we drinking tea here? Or are we driving a truck?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's really something to be said about that. Gear shift knobs too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, especially if, well, and I think there's manufacturers out there that recommend you don't, but I think anyone that loves driving stick, you always got your hand on it, like, and if it, fuck my life, I can't save myself on this, can I? Um, anyway, the feel of that knob in your hand is is key, right?
Oh,
Jesus Christ. Well,
yeah.
buddy, on more exciting notes, we are getting awful close here to pits, believe it or not. Felt
Oh, I
like it was a
know.
lifetime away a while ago, but it's close.
Yeah, it is actually. Tom messaged me the other day. He's like, "Have you registered yet?" And then I was like, "No." Like, I don't know if
Of
John
course
sent me
not.
a link or not. So then all of a sudden, John messages me. He's like, "Check your Facebook." And I'm like, "Yeah, Facebook isn't."
A checker
Um,
for me.
yeah. So I go on, and he had bumped the message that he had sent me like 2 months ago to register. So,
Jesus.
yeah, got it done. Tick that off the list. And I was actually looking a little bit at the route this evening, and yeah, started to plan things out. And Britt booked her flight because she'll fly in a little closer to the weekend.
So she can
And
stay working and stuff up
yeah,
until kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, we're pretty much ready. I gotta do a little bit of service to the trailer, make sure that because I already blew it. So the spare wheel and tire has a blown tire on it. So
Oh, good.
uh, yeah, want to make sure that maybe some of the essentials are available because you just never know. And yeah, I got to get my get the coupe to Mr. K Designs to finally uh, finish out my trunk in there. Nothing crazy. I just need the 12-inch sub that belongs with that stereo to be installed. So
Oh, it's not in?
no, I just have like this JL audio in a box that just kind of floats around in there. Don't get me wrong, it sounds good, but I have the proper Sony that goes with the rest of everything that's in that car. So just need to do like a custom enclosure for that. And then I don't like the way the battery is mounted back there because it is a trunk mounted
Power
Optima.
plant.
So yeah, just kind of want to get that cleaned up. I almost want him to do like one of his side mount kits and like tuck it in the little indentation over in the left there.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, just make it like a little bit more discreet. But
Right.
other than that, yeah, it should be pretty good to go because I did fixed all the little things that I needed to do. I just have to do EGR delete on it. I'm waiting for some delete plates to come in, and that'll be that.
Right. There's heads on that car, right?
Yeah, it's got the GT40 X whatever aluminums on it.
Oh yeah, right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Well, that'll be cool to see that car out. Um, yeah, especially from we talk about it enough regarding like, if you don't know, you don't know about like air ride
Yeah.
and how that car rides. Um, actually, I don't even know if this would be worth talking about because I've just kind of briefly heard the story, but a friend of mine in Tennessee with New Edge has um, figured out like what Lewis has done in his coupe. And I haven't laid eyes on this. I've just kind of heard the story, but essentially figured out how to four corner bag his car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it's funny because when he was explaining it to me, it sounded a lot like what Lewis has kind of talked about and yourself and whatever. Like, okay, sure, this is not an off the shelf kit, but it doesn't take much to kind of make it such that it is. And I was telling him, I said, fuck, man, like based on what you're telling me, it sounds like you almost like mentally connected to my other two buddies that have like found these workarounds, right? And he's like, no shit. It's that whole thing, right? Like we're all pulling thoughts from the same ether, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And he somehow kind of tapped into that and figured his own kid out. Um, Funny enough, he can in that, I think it's a 99 or 2000, but he can lay his fucking K member on the ground.
Oh, nice.
Like, yeah, slammed.
Yeah.
So, which good and bad, like good from a like fucking Tim the Toolman Taylor kind of, har standpoint, but like imagine losing air pressure and that bitch going down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd want some,
Snowplow City.
yeah. I know mine's close. That and the ASG arms. They pretty much touch the ground too, but like there's just enough that it rolls with no air in it.
Right. Is that car got long tubes on it?
No shorties.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the lowest part on mine. And I'm
Oh,
like,
right.
yeah, like aired out maybe like half to three quarters of an inch from those
Mhm.
hitting the ground. That's my low point.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, to hear his K member is like on the fucking ground. And he's like, if my K member wasn't there, like I could keep going. Like, Jesus Christ, like that's low.
So, yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of oil pan setup versus the K member. I guess the K member sits lower than the oil pan.
And to be honest, buddy, yeah, it's a good question. I don't know how the 4.6 like maneuvers its way through there.
Yeah.
Obviously has to be higher than the K member or like same kind
I'm
of.
curious. I'm going to peek at the underside of my SN95 because it's the 4.6 motor in that,
Oh,
just so
there
I
you
can
go.
kind of get an idea because I'm sure it's probably same.
Right. Yeah, and I mean the new Edge, which is always held a special place in my heart, especially in like a really slammed format. Like this thing looks cool, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very,
No.
very cool. Yeah. And like for all intents and purposes, like uh a subtle, cool, got like those Rovos, like 5-star wheels on it. And it's one of the like more I guess at the time less sought after, but now rare colors. It's almost kind of like a military green, like kind of a mineral green.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. With a tan interior, tan top. It's vert. Um, and then kind of that bronzy Rovos wheel. Like it's a classy, like you're not sure if it's classy or is this kick ass? You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those combo deals.
Yeah.
Cool car, sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, shit,
Yeah,
man. Yeah. I guess in reality, well, in the Asylum or Fox area, I guess, yeah, we'll be at least 3 cars on air this year.
yeah. Yeah, true
So
enough.
Mr. Lewis will be bringing his, which will be cool.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And is he gonna bring his coupe?
Yeah, he's bringing the coupe this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Coupes, air, and body kits.
There we go.
Stay out of the comments.
Section. We're gonna have our own section within the section.
Yep, the comments will be flying. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this for sure. We definitely have a lot in front of us as far as, you know, moving and then getting over there is concerned. But I think yeah, I know we'll definitely need a breather by the time Pitts rolls around.
Yeah.
And that'll be the perfect little breather, right? Just go whatever point we're at with this whole adventure of ours, let's just go have some beer with the boys and enjoy these cars. And yeah, hopefully the weather's kind of cleared its throat by then and we don't have to deal with any of that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know should be a good year. I wonder if I haven't talked to Tom about this or John or anything. Like, I'm assuming we're kind of in that same area.
I believe so. I think it's going to be pretty similar to what we did last year. And I don't know if there's any other special formalities about it or not. All I know is that there's no spaces left. I saw a couple posts of people wanting to even just get into the show, let alone into the, you know, asylum area. And I think, yeah, the show's sold out, and
I think it has been for a while. Hey,
yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. Like, I think it's a bigger show than you would think. It's like unassumingly large.
Big.
Yeah.
Which it'd be interesting to talk to some of the organizers, because like that's a fairly decent indication that if you're selling out that fast, we may have to you know, regroup here a little bit. Now, I'm not saying regroup like move the show, because like that set and setting is very, very sweet. For anyone out there wondering that hasn't been, yeah, it's the spot, you know, especially that time of year. And I don't know, wake up and things are a little misty and dewy. I mean, it's really clipping on all cylinders. But I mean, the area they do it in, I didn't spend a whole bunch of time last year checking it out, but it's quite large, and almost seems like if you wanted to make it larger, there's like, you know, public parking beyond it. You know what I mean? You could probably grow. I don't know if it's gravel up there. I don't know what that all looks like, but I know like the wife drove down later on one of the show days there, right? And parked up in some thing that was just designated for Pitts parking. So it's like, you know, why not expand?
Yeah. Oh, good point, man. We'll have to maybe do a little bit more recon on that whole setup. And well, shit, you're going to be like, that's in your backyard.
It's true. I may be the reconner.
Like an annual, what is it? Like a token.
Yeah. Bit of a piece of furniture around there going forward. So cool, buddy. Well, I guess we both probably got lots to do here tonight. And maybe folks, I know everybody, well, at least the diehards like the 3-hour pulls, but I don't think tonight's the night, because I still got to pack a bag for the weekend, and I know you got lots of shit to do too, pal. So should we wrap her there?
Yeah, no, sounds good.
Cool. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for listening. And again, like I said at the start, thanks for all your wishes, and thanks for everybody's support and following along on the pod and all that good stuff. It's a lot of fun, and it's neat when you get the reach outs like that. Hell, even just the comments in the podcast and stuff, right? It's like, to think that somebody's taking it upon themselves to listen to us two knuckleheads ramble on about these silly old cars and whatever else we got on our minds, and then comment and then make it heartfelt and everything. I'm not gonna get misty again here, so I better shut her down quick. So anyway, thanks for listening, guys, and have a great week.
Yep. Thank you.